The Great Coney Island Hot Dog Feud. Who actually invented the American icon? Picture Coney Island, circa 1916. The air is thick with salt spray, rendered pork fat, and ambition. Wooden roller coasters rattle overhead. Thousands of New Yorkers in wool bathing suits crowd the boardwalk, sunburned and starving. And somewhere between the beer gardens and the bathhouses, a former bun slicer earning $11 a week is about to declare war on his boss, armed with nothing but a spice recipe, a $300 savings account, and the audacity to charge a nickel. The American hot dog wasn't born in a test kitchen or a corporate boardroom. It was forged in a petty, mustard-fueled turf war on a Brooklyn beach, and the guy who actually invented the thing lost the history books to the guy who knew how to sell it. This is the story of Charles Feltman, Nathan Handwerker, and the most delicious business rivalry you've never heard of. Before Nathan Handwerker ever sliced a single bun, before the nickel hot dog became a weapon of class warfare, there was a German immigrant with a pie wagon and a problem. Charles Feltman arrived in the United States in 1856 at 15 years old. By 1867, he was pushing a cart along the Coney Island shoreline, selling pies to sunburned beachgoers. The pies were fine, but customers wanted something more substantial, something hot, something they could eat while dodging waves and losing money at carnival games. Feltman's solution was elegant in its simplicity. A pork sausage tucked into a milk roll. No plates, no forks, no sitting down, just meat, bread, and forward motion. It worked, spectacularly. What started as a modified pie cart grew into something almost absurd in scale. Feltman's Ocean Pavilion eventually sprawled across a full city block, housing 9 restaurants, a roller coaster, a carousel, a ballroom, an outdoor movie theater, a hotel, a beer garden, and 2 enormous bars. By the 1920s, the complex was billing itself as the largest restaurant in the world, serving over 5 million customers a year and pushing 40,000 hot dogs a day. The man who started with sausages and rolls had built a beachside empire. Historian Henry Collins Brown captured the genius of Feltman's original product. It could be carried on the march, eaten on the sands between baths, consumed on a carousel. The hot dog wasn't just food, it was infrastructure for leisure. The reality of empires is that they get comfortable. Feltman's hot dogs cost 10 cents, which was perfectly reasonable for a destination that offered roller coasters and ballrooms alongside its franks. The operation was built on spectacle and overhead, on the idea that people would keep coming for the full experience. That assumption made Feltman's powerful. It also made Feltman's vulnerable, because empires don't just attract customers, they attract ambitious employees. And the tool that would eventually reshape the entire hot dog economy wasn't a recipe or a restaurant. It was something far simpler, far cheaper, and far more portable. The pushcart didn't just move hot dogs from point A to point B. It rewired how Americans thought about eating. Before the cart, food was something that happened at a table. You sat, you ordered, you waited. The experience had furniture. Feltman understood this model perfectly, and as his empire grew, he leaned into it. The Ocean Pavilion was destination dining, a place where you went for the evening rather than solely a sausage. 9 restaurants, a beer garden, a ballroom, white tablecloths, and waitstaff. The hot dog existed inside that world, but it wasn't the star. It was one act in a very expensive circus. The street cart flipped that logic completely. A cart had no rent, no waitstaff, no ballroom to maintain. It met you where you already were, on the sand, on the boardwalk, in the middle of a crowd watching a strongman bend a railroad spike. It stripped away everything between a hungry person and a hot sausage in a roll. That shift mattered more than the recipe itself. Historian Henry Collins Brown nailed it when he described Feltman's original creation as food that could be carried on the march, eaten on the sands between baths, consumed on a carousel. The hot dog didn't succeed because it tasted revolutionary. It succeeded because it fit the rhythm of how people actually spent their leisure time. No stopping, no sitting, no ceremony. The cart turned the hot dog from a menu item into a lifestyle accessory. And this is where Feltman's own success became a kind of trap. His massive complex charged 10 cents per franc. That was fair for what you got: atmosphere, entertainment, the full Coney Island experience. But all that overhead meant the price couldn't drop. The business was built on scale and spectacle, not on simplicity. The pushcart model pointed in the opposite direction: smaller, cheaper, faster, more of them, closer to the customer. If the cart was the future of the hot dog, then whoever mastered it wouldn't need a city block of real estate to win. Feltman had created the perfect portable product. What he didn't anticipate was that one of his own employees was paying very close attention, and that employee's weapon of choice wouldn't be a better sausage. It would be a price tag. Feltman versus Handwerker, a clash of titans. So here's Nathan Handwerker in 1916, a Polish immigrant who'd been slicing buns at Feltman's, earning $300. That's it. That was the war chest. He took that money, opened a stand on Surf Avenue just blocks from his former boss's sprawling empire, and did something beautifully ruthless. He charged 5 cents. Feltman was charging 10. Same product category, half the price, right down the street. If that's not a declaration of war, nothing is. The math alone was devastating. Feltman's Ocean Pavilion needed to charge a dime because it was subsidizing 9 restaurants, a beer garden, a ballroom, a roller coaster, and a small army of waitstaff. Nathan's needed to cover a counter and a grill. The overhead difference wasn't a gap. It was a canyon. But cheap hot dogs come with a problem. People assume they're garbage. A nickel franc in 1916 raised eyebrows. If Feltman's charges double, maybe there's a reason, right? Nathan's solution was pure theater. According to multiple accounts, Handwerker enlisted his buddies Eddie Cantor and Jimmy Durante to swing by the stand and eat there publicly. The logic was simple. If recognizable faces were wolfing down 5-cent dogs, the food couldn't be that bad. Some versions of the story claim Nathan even gave white coats to people and had them eat at his counter so passers-by would think doctors endorsed the product. Whether that last detail is embellished or not, the strategy was the same. Nathan wasn't selling a better hot dog. He was selling permission to buy the cheaper one. Feltman had no playbook for this. His business model was built on being the destination, the grand experience. You didn't compete with Charles Feltman on price. You competed on spectacle. But spectacle doesn't work when the guy 3 blocks away is offering essentially the same food for half the cost and making it feel like the cool, democratic choice. Nathan's stand started moving around 40,000 hot dogs a day at its peak. Feltman's complex, once described as the world's largest restaurant, began a slow slide. The family sold the business in the 1940s. By 1954, the original Feltman's was gone. The man who invented the product lost to the man who repriced it. That's the part of this story most people treat as the ending. The scrappy underdog wins, the bloated empire falls, roll credits. But the real twist isn't about who won the price war. It's about what happened to the story after the price war was over and who got to call themselves the original. The great twist: ownership of the narrative. The detail nobody mentions is that Feltman didn't lose the history books when his restaurant closed in 1954. He lost them when Nathan's figured out how to exist everywhere else. Nathan's Famous didn't just survive Coney Island, it left Coney Island. The brand evolved from a single counter on Surf Avenue into a consumer packaged goods operation, a franchise network, and eventually a media property anchored by the annual 4th of July hot dog eating contest. Nathan's products now sell in more than 55,000 supermarkets, club stores, and restaurants across over 10 countries. Smithfield Foods acquired the company for $450 million. That's not a hot dog stand. That's a licensing empire wearing a mustard-stained apron. Feltman, meanwhile, was serving 5,250,000 customers a year at his peak in the 1920s. That's not a small operation. That's a juggernaut. But it was a local juggernaut, tethered to a single city block of roller coasters and beer gardens. When the block went, the name went with it. Nathan's did the opposite. It decoupled the brand from the location. You didn't need to visit Coney Island to eat a Nathan's hot dog. You could grab one at a gas station in Ohio. And every time someone did, they absorbed a simple, unspoken message. This is the original. Which brings us to the real twist. The title of hot dog inventor isn't awarded by historians. It's awarded by repetition. Nathan's name is on the package in your freezer. Nathan's name is on the ESPN broadcast every July. Nathan's name is the one your kids know. Charles Feltman started selling sausages and rolls on that beach roughly 50 years before Nathan Handwerker ever set foot on Coney Island, and yet most Americans have never heard of him. Feltman invented the product. Nathan's invented the story people remember. The rivalry was never really about who made a better Frank. It was about who built the better machine for telling the world they made the first one. And that machine, it turns out, runs on distribution deals and television contracts, not charcoal grills. So the next time someone tells you Nathan's invented the hot dog, smile and nod. They're not wrong in any way that matters to culture. They're just repeating the version of history that had a better marketing budget. The real lesson of Coney Island isn't about sausages and rolls. It's that in America, the inventor is whoever's still talking when everyone else has gone home. Feltman fed millions. Nathan's made sure nobody forgot who they were. And that, more than any recipe, is the most American food story ever told. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this film, please like and subscribe. Your support helps Baron Bratwurst continue exploring and documenting the history, culture, and stories behind the world's most fascinating sausages. And if you have your own recommendations, stories, or suggestions for future episodes, please leave them in the comments below. There is always another sausage story waiting to be told.